Chris Sanders from Community All Unite TV, coming to a city near you in Newark right now. And Comcast Cable, channel 190 and 1097 every Thursday from 8 to 8:30. That's Community All Unite TV, Comcast Cable. Every 8 to 8:30 on Thursday on channel 1097 and 190. We are here with the Councilman, John Sharp James Jr.
No Junior.
No Junior. Okay, John Sharp James.
Yes.
All right.
Glad to be here, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to let him tell a little bit about himself. I want to bring us from the legacy up till now. If he can give us a quick rundown on that, and then I have a couple questions.
Okay, well, born and raised in Newark. My father was former Mayor Sharp James. He held South Ward Councilman position 1970. I got to go so far back. Right. I was 2 years old, and I just remember growing up. It was more community oriented back then. End of the or beginning or middle of the civil rights time, and everyone was together. Neighbors were together. Families were together. We all want our equal rights. The rebellion was in '69 in Newark. Mm-hmm. That rebellion riot, I think, was more of a rebellion because these people wanted equal rights. Right. So that affected, our upbringing. And it just slowly but surely, campaign after campaign, eventually became mayor. I went to St. Benedict's High School. You meet so many people, you're doing the campaigns, you're licking stamps, you're going door to door, you put leaflets out, just a process. But overall, wanting to do the right thing for the right reasons. My first job, I think, was junior year in high school at St. Benedict's, was at Burger King, which used to be a market and university. Right. First chance, and responsibility, really good. Did that for like 2 years. I then went on to Morehouse College down in Atlanta. Hotland, as they call it. Did that, and believe it or not, within 6 months, I joined the New Jersey, the United States Army Reserves while I was attending college. Still continued college, majored in English. My junior year, I joined ROTC, completed college with an English major, got called up for Desert Storm, did not have to go overseas, but spent 6 months down active duty in Georgia as a private. And, I slowly but surely worked my way through the education system, the military system, came back home from Desert Storm from Georgia, went to Rutgers Law School from 92 to 95, and started work from the county around 98. And right now I'm the Emergency Operations Director at the County Psych Hospital up in Cedar Grove. And I've been lucky and honored to have been first elected councilman at large citywide in 2013, and then ran for South Ward councilman in 2014. So it's an honor and privilege to serve the community, doing basically what I was doing. My father was mayor, helping people, running positive campaigns. It's just about, bringing resources out to the community. COVID has been a challenge for all of us. At the same time, we have to embrace more technology. We can't meet in person, but we have to have shows like this, rely more on the internet. I have Zoom community meetings, and get our communication information passed out, that way instead of a group setting. Right. So it's been kind of different, but I think we're going to make it through in Newark. Yeah.
I heard your father was basically the catalyst for all of the big things that have happened in Newark, like for NJPAC and what was it, Prudential, a lot of stuff with Prudential. And so you were there when all these deals were going.
Well, it was more a fight, not a deal, because I think the state didn't want a lot of things in Newark back in the times, because I know it took 7 years to get to New Jersey PAC built. It was not easy. Right. It was not an easy push. And it took additional 7 years to get the Prudential Center built. So these were major projects, but in between that time, to focus more on the community. You don't get elected based on two big projects over a 14-year period. And just empowering those in the Newark community to bring our city from, say, blight to bright. And Newark got more respected. We change the police force around. At one point, we had 1,700 officers. Not that more officers is necessarily the answer, but we had more minorities on the force, more folks that live or Newark residents on the force than prior decades. Right. And but slowly but surely, we were improving.
Right. So now, as far as the South Ward is concerned, are there any big plans that are coming on, in the South Ward to bring a lot of new jobs and new growth? What does the South Ward want?
Well, primarily the South Ward is residential, so it's not like downtown. So we don't have big plots of land to do big projects or big programs. With their number of like multi-unit apartment buildings coming. If you go 3 blocks in any direction, you'll see a home either coming from the ground up or something that's been remodeled or renovated or being gutted. So there's a lot of small growth in it, and that's the key. At the same time, we can't forget about the people who live there and have lived there for decades and generations. So we have other small community organizations going around. We have the street team, which goes to corners and tries to engage the youth, get them back in the system. We have a clergy, alliance goes around, and we've given them some old police cars, to be involved in community activities. Just a lot of things going on, a lot of nonprofits. IYO is in the South Ward. Everyone's trying to do their little piece. There's no one big gimmick, plan, or project. We just want positive growth.
Sure. Now, if we go up, I'm a part of the IYO, and we're trying to develop that building, the community center. It's been there for 50 years, doing a lot of good things. We're thinking about going up like three or four floors up. Is there a height restriction in there? I don't think. 3 should be okay because you got some 3 families over the area. I have to look at the zoning exactly. The key is going to come down to funding. Right.
The climate and the federal government, especially during the Trump Republican administration, feel like the cities are getting too much already. They want to cut social programs. So that's been one of the biggest problems. We got a lot of nonprofits, but they're all barely surviving and struggling, and it's no accident.
Yeah. I thought that program, the mural program, was really good in the South Ward.
It's beautiful. It's artistic, but again, folks need real jobs. Folks, we have local control back in the education system, so that our kids can challenge those from other countries now, because it's a worldwide job market. It's not limited to who lives in a city limit or a certain zip code. You compete with people, immigrants or what have you. They come from other communities, different zip codes. They may not look like you, but hey, they may have the degrees or the education to support whatever industry they're going to apply for.
Sure, it's hard to make it a majority of the starting off at home, basically, as far as finding workers that are from local areas.
Right.
When these guys come in, they have to have a certain amount of local workers, right?
Yes. So it's a 51% on projects. We do have a workforce development organization where individuals can come, leave their resume, be put in a pool. So anybody coming with needing employees can say, hey, well, we need someone for history, or we need someone for construction, we need someone for mathematics, because it's not just individuals who maybe didn't finish school. We have people that have been downsized or laid off by the workforce. It might be professors, might have PhDs.
Right.
So everyone looking for a job is not, ignorant. Everyone's not looking for necessarily an entry-level job. We have educated individuals who live in the city. They might have retired, or again, might have been laid off, or their company went out of business. They're looking for employment also.
Sure. And now we see Paramount Assets. They own this building, the next one next door, all in downtown area. They're buying up a lot of stuff. What do you feel about that, as far as the big developers that are coming in, sort of buying so many things?
Well, you can't stop it.
Right.
As long as they comply with our affirmative action, they hire 51% workers. There are fines if they do not comply, but we can stop the project.
Sure.
But we try and work with them to say, hey, you can't find workers, here's a resource, here's this pool where you can find workers. So, you're not going to stop development.
Right. Now, where do you see the city's going in just the right direction, the way that you would like it to go? You like Mayor Ross's vision for the city?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he's touched on every major issue. Completing the lead lines was major.
Yeah.
To say, look, let's just replace them. I'm going to find the money. I'm going to partner with the county, and we're going to get all these done. Yes, we're going to have a little increased debt, but that'll be rectified.
Sure.
He's hired as many police as possible, under the circumstances. He's compassionate. We're not ticketing and towing people as much as we used to during the pandemic because, as you know, many DMV locations have been closed because they got hit with COVID, some of their workers. Every day, even I believe right now as we speak, he's doing his daily 5 p.m. Facebook Live, giving more people information because with the pandemic, which no one talked or knew about or could predict 3 years ago, there's a lot of new information coming out every day. So we make sure in my office that we put that on our webpage, because every day there's new information. Something could have happened this morning or this afternoon before his broadcast, and even after his broadcast, that we try and make sure people get that information, which may affect them. Right now people are asking, where do we go for the vaccine? The Johnson & Johnson vaccine just had some side effects, and that's stalled at this point. So if it's not Johnson & Johnson, where do we go? So, he and the health department have been taking a lead, as they should, during this pandemic to make sure the entire city is covered and as much information given out as possible to alleviate fears.
Yeah, I heard that the lead lines was a really big project that, they basically found a lot of funding from the government instead of having to raise taxes.
Well, the taxes are going to go up. What we did was we partnered with the county, and the county allowed us, to bond some of it out so that, we wouldn't have to hit everyone now, and we could get all of them done instead of, phase 1, phase 2. I think the first funding came from the state. That was limited funding, but with the county, I think that covered all the rest of the bases. And my house is going to be done, I think, in the next couple of weeks, so they're on our block now. But it's just a win-win.
So what's the percentage of completion of the houses now?
I'd say over 80.
Over 80%.
I mean, I throw a ballpark out there, over 80.
Right.
I think there were 8,000 to start with or something have you. Remember, and we also had to replace them. We did other municipalities. We have folks in Belleville and Nutley that have lines from our water system. And we changed those too. So we didn't cheat. We were fair. If you got water from Newark and you had a lead service line, we replaced it.
Right. And it's
a complete solution.
Sure. Now with the educational system, where's that headed?
Well, we fought to get it back under local control, which the mayor, former principal, led that. Now that we have, unfortunately, between the times we fought for local control, and it was run by the state, the charter school movement is now bombarded. So they took over many of the schools that used to be formerly traditional schools. As councilman, I represent all the children, whether they attend charter or traditional, and I just want equality. Now, I just noticed some of the charters have resources that the traditional schools don't have, and the charter schools don't seat all of the students because they don't have the space. So even if every traditional school parent wanted to send their school to a charter school, so they were the highest ticket out, they can't. Their capacity, and that's a problem because they're leaving behind sometimes students who have individual learning plans and those with second English as a second language, or those who are disabled or have some kind of disability because they don't have the resources there to really tackle that. The best students, of course, maybe some mediocre students, of course, but some of the more at risk or in need are still being taught in the traditional school system, and they need those resources. So it's not I don't think it's a fair comparison.
So what are they going to do? I mean, what's the solution to that?
Well, I mean, charter schools are here to stay.
Yeah.
We need to push for more funding for traditional schools. Do the best of what we have. Try to have the best personnel, staff in place. I toured all 3 high schools that we have in South Ward with the mayor and the superintendent 2 weeks ago. And we wanted to make sure they were ready for in-person class again.
Yeah.
They've been doing remote learning for all this time because of COVID. 33% of the parents opted to send their children back.
Right.
So they showed us they had segmented classrooms. They had partitions up on these desks. How they come into school, how they're going to be checked, for possibly bringing COVID in.
Right.
The temperature, ask questions, and a pad for their feet.
Right.
And how not every class was coming in the first door. In the high schools, they're going to have 2 entrances. So let's say 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th grade will go in one entrance. The 9th and the 10th grade will come in another entrance. Right. And they never interact during the day.
Sure.
So if someone pops hot in one of those groups, they're still isolated, and they're going to come in and get a snack. They're going to eat at their desk. And when they go out the door at 12, class from 8 to 12, they're going to get a bag lunch, and then they can eat at home. So they're not missing any meals. Yeah. No one's eating at cafeterias or in group settings yet, but it would look like an excellent plan. Yeah. And if someone does pop hot, maybe a high temperature or some other symptom, there was a room right off to the side where the nurse would go to, and they could be separated and further actions would be taken.
Right. Now, where are the COVID locations as far as getting the tests?
You should go to, NJIT. They've opened that as a major station for the city of Newark. If you have a senior who might be, stuck in a house, can't get out, not mobile, call the health department. They will send someone to the house. I don't know how often they're doing it, but I know I've done it on at least 5 or 6 occasions because some seniors just can't make it to a different location. We've been working with the housing authority for them to try and do their buildings in place so the seniors, especially the elderly over at Kretschmer or what have you, Dayton area, don't have to go en masse. They can go and do them in their buildings. Just makes sense. So we're trying a bunch of different organizations, agencies, trying to do the right thing and get as much vaccine out as possible.
So what's the re-entry programs in this software? You were saying something about one of the nonprofits that's been here for a while. What's McGreevy's program? So
New Jersey Reentry Program. They have, I believe, 7 other locations statewide. One in Jersey City, a couple in South Jersey. So they just opened one in Newark, I want to say about 6 months ago. And it is what it says. Reentry. Individuals who have had, a felony, what have you. They've done all their time. They maxed out or what have you. They're released back in the population. They may not have driver's license. They may not have IDs. This is trying to help them get on their feet. And depends on the individual, but just different kind of programming. But it's to let them know they're not alone. They may still have to report to parole officers or what have you, something to that effect. But here's an agency for you. Let us know before you do some other crime again. Use our resources to the best of our ability.
Got it. I think the Career One Stop is trying to locate in the IYU building.
Okay.
You know anything about that?
I mean, that'd be possible. Hopefully. She has a huge facility, so she could use as much help as she can get. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. But at one time they were discussing possibly the reentry program in our building, and that just doesn't mix. You can't have them by law around kids. So that was a problem with that because her facility was definitely thought of as far as co-location.
Got it. What's the latest with Essex County College? I know at one point they were on shaky ground because of, I don't know, with some of the administrative things that was going on. They found it was some funds being.
I don't know.
You know anything about that?
I don't go down that road.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So I think Essex County College is a staple in this area, and I know Yeah. So, what's the relationship with the city and Essex County College?
Well, my father was a professor there for a long time, but they're one of our higher learning institutions, just like NJIT, Rutgers. We want to promote education. So those individuals from high schools who want to continue in the higher education, college. Essex County College, excellent college for a 2-year degree.
Right. And anybody, the students in the city in Newark, they can go there for free? Is it free?
I believe they've been pushing for that. I don't know whether that's 100%, but that's the ultimate goal.
Sure. Last item that I was thinking about was the homeless situation. Is there a plan around the homeless?
Well, we're going to build a shelter, but from what I'll tell you is our temporary shelter we had on Sussex Avenue, we found out that there were individuals that weren't from Newark there. We had found individuals that were working that were staying there. Now, the vendor, of course, doesn't care because they're charging us by the person. New person at the door, more money for us to fill in whatever beds it may be. But we found a couple of college students in there. Like, hey, you guys aren't supposed to be staying here for free. You know, we're supposed to be. And then we had a major problem when we found out that other towns were dropping their homeless off in Newark or bringing them to Sussex. We found a major problem. Other towns are giving them one-way tickets to Penn Station.
Sure. Right.
Unfair. So sometimes you build it, they'll come. You build it, they'll send it. But we scoured the records, and that's how we knew some people shouldn't have been in that shelter, and we rectified it. So
I think there were people that were buying rents for like at least 6 months, and then they would stop, and then the homeless.
That's a different program. So that's the SODA program. That was a special one-time assistance for New York residents. It's cheaper for them to pay rent in New Jersey than have them, pay rent in New York. And they even have them staying in hotels over in New York. So, like you said, they were paying landlords up front a 1-year rent for this tenant. But when the 1 year was up, you were stuck with it. And special one-time assistance. And they weren't following up. Now, the problem on the front end with that is they were not truly checking the living conditions of the tenants that they were, the proposed locations where they were bringing the tenants to. So some landlords were putting them in inhabitable conditions. Heat didn't work, electric didn't work, just horrible living conditions. They didn't know any better. They just knew they was moving somewhere. And so the mayor, we were inundated with complaints. The mayor contacted the mayor of New York and said, you have to stop this. You're dumping these people on New Jersey, in Newark, Irvington, and other municipalities. You don't really know where they're staying because you're not checking. And then after a year or 6 months or what have you, you've washed your hands of them, and now the city's like stuck with them, and they don't necessarily become homeless, but now it's a rent problem. But that was the SODA program. And New York City agreed to stop the program and stop sending people over.
Good. And the veterans, we were trying to do a project in the Ironbound. Of course, they denied it. They pushed that project down. What is it like as far as finding locations for veterans in the different wards? As far as the South Ward, are people trying to bring veteran housing to the South Ward, or what does it look? How do they frown on that?
Well, the most successful program is Habitat for Humanity. They've housed some veterans, but that's a sweat equity program where anyone who's down and out who wants to have a home works through them building other homes. And at a certain point, after they've counseled you on your credit, counseled you on home ownership, made sure you have steady employment, you've worked enough sweat equity and are prepared to own a home, and then they build your house, or you actually help finish up building your house. So they've been doing that, and the NFL was involved with that, the commissioner, and there was one player, Warren, I'm trying to think of his last name, but it'll come up later. But that's been one of the most successful programs. We do have the Regional Veteran Center downtown, and specifically, the VA has been doing a lot of things on their own. So we have the American Legion, 212 Elizabeth Avenue. Mm-hmm. They had a fire. They're trying to rebuild. Right. So I'm trying to think. There's a couple of smaller groups, but the VA tries to do everything in-house to the best of its ability. A lot of stuff is private. Yeah. I'm a veteran. I'm a councilman. Yeah. And I've asked them, when we want to look for veterans for hiring for jobs, can you, give the information so that we can get it to them so they can apply? And they kind of don't want to do that because it's privacy, give contact information and addresses. Yeah. So those are areas we need to look for more serving veterans because we do have a large population in the city of Newark who served in multiple wars, and they've sacrificed, they've risked their lives for this country. They deserve the same respect. I forget nationwide homeless veterans, but some statistics says it's like 25% of the homeless are veterans. It should be that way.
Right. So when it's affordable housing project, I know it's like most times if it's a 50-unit development, 20% is supposed to be affordable housing. And sometimes a percentage of that will go to veterans? Or
no, that's open for anyone.
Okay.
It's not limited to veterans.
Got it. All right. So, if you want to discuss any other topics, I've asked all my questions. Okay. I know the only other question that I have to deal with as far as being part of Wisdom Shapes Minds is these young folks and making sure they're protected and that they have programming. And that's one of my main missions, is to try to make sure that young folks know how you got to where you got. And, I know it's a lot of struggle and perseverance, even though you had a legacy. You're similar to me. I have my father that left a legacy for me. How much of the pathway, was it a lot easier because you had a mentor that was the mayor?
I say no, because he was not the mayor until I was 17.
Right.
He was not the mayor. He was a councilman, but he was out doing his council stuff. So, there was a fight on the block. I had to deal with it. I had no bigger brother. It was me. So I'm glad I grew up in the community. I was shot when I was like 17, so I still have a bullet in my leg from the same block my mother and father live on now. So it can happen to anyone. There were no safe zones. Bullets don't have a name on them. Right. And unfortunately, growing up, we did have fights. A teenager, people started doing knife stuff, but the amount of guns we have on the street now, I don't know. I don't think there's any city like Newark if you're born and raised here. I feel fully vested here. I wouldn't be comfortable living anywhere else. Sure. Because they don't know you, they don't care about you. And I can have that. You and I have known each other forever through our fathers, through business. It's just, it's natural. It's not trying to wedge a ball into a square hole. Absolutely. I really honor you and your time. So, of course, you got my support whenever you're running for anything. Yes, definitely. So please, thank you for your time. And am I leaving anything out, you think? No? Well, Community All Unite TV, another successful interview with a lot of information and education. And we're always trying to bring this to the community. And with your sponsorships and your support, we can keep on expanding and doing bigger things in the city. And we're going to be trying to get at least 10 to 20 young people and take them to Africa in 2022. So it's a really good effort and things and these are all young folks from Newark. So I wanted to specify that. And I want to thank you guys again. And it's Comcast Cable and Xfinity on 1097 and 190 on Thursdays from 8 to 8:30. Thanks for tuning in. Over and out. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you. All right.
Community. It's a fight now. Right now.